think it is, Lee, but it's an exciting start for us because it'll show any weakness or defects in what we've been doing at pre-season.
Okay, you've seen them in the training situation. Now tomorrow against the best side in Australia, certainly. I guess you've got a lot to learn there tomorrow.
I think we have, Lee. One of the reasons we had to go to the Australian side is because we don't have any local sides in training up here. And it was a great opportunity for us to get strong competition.
Exactly that. The two boys back from the marvellous result of the World Youth Qualifying Championships, David Lowe and Ralph Mayer. Will you be using those two fellows?
Most certainly, Lee. They'll probably be the fittest two players on the park because they haven't had a break for 18 months.
And other new players too from England, of course.
Yeah, Peter Burke and Gary Watson, both centre-backs. They'll be playing tomorrow, and both of them look very capable players.
We'll find out tomorrow, I guess, and that's what you'll be doing.
Yeah, my word I will, yes.
A couple of faces too, Arno Batonia, back as opposition this time, and also a player, Marshall Soper, who returns to Newcastle with very, very big raps.
Yeah, Marshall's one of the guys that has proven that we have good local players. It's just a pity that he wasn't on our side tomorrow.
Oh, I most certainly would. We have a lot more depth this year, and I think that we have the speed and aggression that we've never had before.
Donnie Ray Cruz, a marvellous acquisition for the Falcons.
Yes, Donnie's a great player. He's quick, and he can jump out of the gym, so he has all the ability to do a lot of things out there.
He seems to stay up there too. He's got
he does.
I
think he does. He's like on a pogo stick out there.
Can you win it this year?
Well, the league is very, very tough this year, and I wouldn't like to predict that we could win it, but I definitely think we'll get in the playoffs this year.
How does NBL compare today in 1983 to a couple of years ago when it started?
Well, you really can't compare the NBL today with 4 years ago. I think the difference is that the players are a lot bigger, a lot stronger, a lot quicker, more aggressive. And I think if you look at the teams, 4 years ago the teams might have had 1 or 2 good players, and now each team would have 8 or 9 players. So the standard of the NBL today is very, very good.
The Illawarra Hawks are coming up here to play. How good are they this year?
Well, Illawarra would be one of the weaker teams in the league, but still they have a good team and they can probably beat anyone on a given night. So we can't take any team lightly this year. Aggression
is the name of the game with the Falcons, they tell me. Dennis Kibble's that sort of a guy. You're that sort of a guy. Can you get it into the players last year that maybe lacked a bit of that?
Yes, I think we've come to have a good relationship, all the players, and I think it's sort of rubbed off on some of the players that we have to get in there, and we're going to have to be more aggressive because we're a small side.
The Blackburn Cove will be used by its owners, J. Fenwick & Co. for operations in Harbour. The tug is the latest in a long line of Fenwick vessels built carrying seaways. The first of those, the Careening Cove, was launched in 1970. That vessel can still be seen working around Sydney Harbour with its sister ship, the Shell Cove, which was completed in 1971. The Blackburn Cove is the slipway's 13th Fenwick tug. Today, a large crowd gathered at Tomago to watch the vessel hit water for the first time. Before the launching, the tug was blessed by Newcastle's industrial chaplain, the Reverend Don Shepherd. Then the official launching, complete with the traditional bottle of champagne, was carried out by Mrs. Marie MacDonald.
Blackburn Cove. May God protect her and all who sail in her.
Good morning. Well, it looks like there's a chance of an early shower. Lots of blue sky around though and the sun's coming up. Looks like it's going to be a very warm day. Around the beaches this morning, small waves. We're used to that one. Around the 1 metre mark at all of the open beaches, conditions fairly glassy at the moment because the wind's not blowing at all. There's no wind at all and the waves look nice and clean. Coming on towards high tide later this morning, conditions will be too full for those small waves, so if you're keen, you'll have to get them early. If you'd like to go for a swim today, all of our city beaches are quite safe. The water's beautiful and it's going to be a great day for the beach after we get this cloud out of the way. As far as the forecast is concerned, there is the chance of an early shower on the forecast, a warm to very warm and humid day with the chance of a late storm in the upper Hunter. East to northeasterly winds at 10 to 20 knots, that's 20 to 40 kilometres per hour on the coast, slight to moderate seas on a low swell. The outlook for Tuesday, very warm to hot and chance of late storms once again. Newcastle today heading for a top of 29 degrees, up in the valley at Scone 32. The tides, high tide coming up at 18 minutes past 10 this morning, 1.7 metres. Low tide at 6 minutes to 5 this afternoon at 0.3 of a metre. Well, that's our look at the surf and weather this morning. Reasonable waves for the board riders around the 1 metre mark. Glassy conditions without that wind. Get them early if you're keen. Great day for the swimmers. Bye for now.
Buffaloes Can't Fly is one of those seemingly quiet plays that in fact packs quite a punch. It's the early 1920s and city-bred Reg Hargraves has a dream of starting an air service in the Northern Territory. Denied a chance to fight in World War I, he sees heroic possibilities in being the one to open up the North. But for a man who's described by his mate as being a dead-set no-hoper, this vision has its dangers, and playwright Simon Hopkinson makes the dream look even more pathetic by setting it against the vastness of Central Australia. In the Wood Street Theatre cooperative production, Jim Kemp skillfully combines the qualities of inadequacy and blind determination that make up Reg Hargraves. But Pauline Walsh as his society wife, Laura, was perhaps a bit too childish and petulant at the start, and this didn't tally with her change in the second half to being the capable one in the partnership. Laura's pretensions are her lifeline in the wilderness, and they shouldn't be made an object of fun. The outsider, Jack Glover, is central to the play, seeing through the dreams to the reality, and Bob Philippe gave this part quiet strength and humanity. Director Sian Nui has chosen in Buffaloes Can't Fly a play that's appealing, thoughtful and very entertaining.
Good morning. Things are looking a little bit better for the board riders this morning. We've got a little bit more swell. It's increased a little. Waves up to 1.5 metres at the open beaches. The wind blowing offshore from the northwest. It's looking smooth, glassy. The waves have nice quality and the tide's just right at the moment. It's going to improve a little during the morning. The tide's coming up towards high at 10:50, 1.7 metres. You'll find reasonable waves for the next 2 or 3 hours at all of our city beaches this morning. They're really looking nice with that offshore wind. The wind will go northeast this afternoon, making conditions choppy. In fact, it will probably go northeast later this morning. So if you're keen on those waves, you should try and get them early. If you'd like to go for a swim, all of our city beaches reasonably safe once again, although there are sweeps to the south now. And with the incoming tide this afternoon, that's late this afternoon and possibly late this morning, depending on that wind situation, there will be a few blue bottles around, so just look out for those. Well, that's looking good for the surface. Let's have a look at the weather and see what's in store. A high fire danger inland. Very warm to hot, but modified on the coast by gusty northeasterly winds in the afternoon at 10 to 20 knots, 20 to 40 kilometres per hour. Slight seas becoming choppy on a low swell. Newcastle today heading for a top of 28 degrees, up in the valley towards Scone a top of 33. And those tides once again, high tide 10:50 this morning, 1.7 metres, low tide 5:26 this afternoon at 0.3 of a metre. Well, that's our look at the surf and weather. A great sunny morning, offshore winds, waves up to 1.5 metres. Looks like it's going to be a top day. I hope you enjoy it.
Well, Focal, I'm sure we have the same ideas and a lot of other people have, but we're the first to make the move. That is, we think there are problems in local government to ratepayers, which can be ironed out with proper discussion and rapport with the councils.
Okay, so on Saturday, March the 12th, what is the Focal seminar going to offer people who go along that perhaps other avenues around the community can't?
Well, this is the first of its kind. This seminar will bring forward experts in the particular facets of the ratepayer segment, and they will have the ratepayers will have the opportunity to listen and to reply and enter into, we hope, constructive discussion.
And what calibre of speaker have you got to attract people to the seminar?
We have a very good panel of speakers, John, and I suppose one of the most controversial fellows is a chap called Vince Tolmie, who was instrumental in reducing Kyogal's rates, that's on the north coast, by 40% without any loss of services, and we would dearly like to know the formula for that, and I'm sure a lot of councils would too.
Last night, the angry residents called a public meeting to protest over the government's withdrawal of its support for the bus service. The meeting was attended by about 80 people, among them the Regional Director of Education, Mr. Alan Beard. He was questioned about the government's reasons for no longer subsidising the bus. Mr. Beard told the meeting that the Education Department can't condone the use of a private service when there is public transport available. But the angry parents are not taking no for an answer. They plan to petition the Education Department and the Urban Transit Authority in an effort to get the bus subsidy restored. And in the meantime, Folks Travel has agreed to continue running the school bus free of charge. Last night's meeting was called by Mrs. Kay Harwood.
Now, we're not knocking the ferry service at all. There are a lot of children that would like to go by ferry, and we don't want to knock that. That's their choice. But there are a lot of parents and children. I believe that it's just been said that the parents want this, and it's not. It's a lot of the children. They want to travel by bus. They like the convenience of being picked up on Stockton here, pretty well outside their door, and being set down outside the school.
That we were allowing to influence our decision. I am convinced that the only answer for Newcastle and Wollongong and our industrial cities like this lies in a government-sponsored massive investment in development projects that are going to earn wealth for Australia in the future. Now that would need to be done through private enterprise, which I think private enterprise is motivated, and it would also need to use methods which protected Australia. In other words, the Democrats would insist, whatever government comes in, we will insist that those sort of projects use Australian steel, Australian cement, Australian labour and Australian expertise. Let's keep this one at home. I think that's the best thing to do. That way we're going to get BHP and Newcastle back into the proper degree of prosperity it should have and people back into jobs.
Well, talking of BHP specifically, what do you think should be done for BHP, if anything?
Well, I've checked them out as best I can, and I think they are trying to help themselves. That's the first requirement, and they are improving their operation in at least 3 important ways. Granted that, I think they should be given a quota. In other words, it should be recognised the Korean government is subsidising the steel that's being thrown in to compete with them. They should be given a quota so they get a fair proportion of the Australian market guaranteed to them. And I think government also should look carefully at a proposal where if BHP is prepared to spend a large amount of money on modernising the steel plant in Newcastle and maintaining it, that they should be given perhaps some sort of tax holiday or tax concessions while that's done, on the basis that we'll get that money back out of them in future years when they're more prosperous.
Newcastle, the rail strike has affected a relatively small number of commuters, but it has blocked the movement of large quantities of rail freight. Goods in transit have to stay where they are until the plan move again. By far the most serious result of the strike is the crippling, once again, of the port's coal loaders. Both loaders are idle, with stockpiles down to only 170,000 tonnes. Stocks at the loader were run down during the last rail strike and have not yet been built up. At this stage, only normal quantities of coal are being hauled by road. The SRA is no sense to allow major road business to keep some exports going.
Where Italy's 30-year-old Olympic 200-metre champion Pietro Manea set an indoor record of 20.74 seconds for the event. This new record has come only a week after West German Ralf Lubka had claimed the record.
Fogs buses carrying school pupils to Newcastle High and San Clemente High blocked the Stockton Bridge at 8 o'clock this morning. Children disembarked and marched over the bridge, followed by the buses. It was a noisy protest. The children want the choice of travelling by bus or ferry. Some say the bus is more convenient, picking them up near their home and setting them down outside the school. On rainy days, the children have complained about having to walk over the Newcastle rail line and change buses. Parents have complained that by dropping the government subsidy, they're forced to use the ferry service introduced 2 weeks ago. Much inconvenienced hundreds of city-bound motorists. Traffic was reduced to a crawl and a long queue was formed, and tenants began to break.
They didn't want the blood, they wanted the ferry, now they got it, they're still bloody whinging.
I've got my daughter to get to school and the other one to get to technical college, and you know, it's a bit rough.
Don't know what's going on. Once the buses had completed the crossing, 2 police vans pulled them over and cautioned the drivers. Police were concerned that the bridge had been blocked to emergency vehicles such as ambulances and that the children may have been hurt in the heavy traffic. But no charges are expected to be laid.
Jack Gibson and media personnel because I do believe you started your football when you were a tiny tot up the road at Raymond Terrace.
Yeah, we lived at the Terrace for a little while. My father's in the Air Force, so we travelled around a little bit, but I played my junior football out there, so it's kind of a home crowd, I suppose.
Everyone in the Terrace is claiming to have coached you at one stage of the game, so you'll see a lot of the Terrace people here, no doubt.
Yeah, I think there will be a few people. I know a lot of people there still, so I hope they do get here, yeah.
Peter, you went away on the Kangaroo Tour. I know last time I spoke you were just hoping to get a spot on the plane.
Right.
You came back rated as the #1 half for Australia, and such people as Frank Hyde are rating you as one of the best ever halfbacks. Is that a big load to carry for a young fella?
Well, not really. It's something that you work very hard for. I'm very pleased to have got that ranking, but really it all starts again now. Like, we're back in Sydney and the competition starts in 2 weeks, and everyone's on a par again, so you've got to go out and prove yourself. It's there's probably a little bit more pressure there, but you've just got to keep working hard, and I'm lucky I'm with a good club.
Everyone wants to beat us, and it's even in trial matches the sides are going out to beat us, and if we get beaten, well, everyone thinks that we're virtually gone, we won't do any good, so the pressure's always on us, and we sort of got used to it after last year. The pressure was on us, and hopefully we can do it again this year.